Hey folks, well it's December 22nd and I'm now going to do the second batch of the Great Canadian Outdoor Adventure Package, the advent calendar for this year from Red Racer. We did the first 8 and we're doing now 9 through 16. A little late in doing this, but it doesn't really matter, and then we'll be doing the last 8 sometime after Christmas, so you can stay tuned for that. Before we get started, I'm sort of going through these and seeing how I liked them or didn't like them. Big thanks to Tracy Thorensen for her feedback on the last video. Don't often get a lot of feedback, so it's nice to get something. She agreed for the most part in terms of my review of the first 8 beers basically. So thank you, Tracy, and maybe you can do it again after this one. So what have we got? Day 9 was something called Torpor. It's kind of a strange name. It was a barrel-aged imperial porter at 9%, so it was pretty strong. Day 10 was Hurry Hard Lager, say that 3 times, at 5%, obviously reference to curling. Day 11, Switch, which was a Griff at 5%. I'll talk about that a little later. It's a beer made with cider, actually. Day 12 was Shinny Strawberries and Cream Ale at 4.5%. Day 13 was Bosa Dark and Stormy Ale at 6.5%. Day 14 was Whiteout Basil Ale at 5%. Day 15 was Snow Racer Dunkel at 5%. And last but not least, Snow Tracks on day 16, Mexican Hot Chocolate Stout at 6%. So, going through them quickly. Torpor. Wow, it was pretty good. Dark, rich, creamy, chocolatey, with some coffee notes. You could certainly tell that at 9% this was a pretty strong beer. But it was pretty smooth and lots of flavor. Very thick in the mouth, so it was creamy, and I really liked it. Hurry Hard, it was a lager, but really not much to distinguish it. Kind of crisp and clean, would be refreshing certainly on a hot day. The Griff, now that's an interesting one. Never heard of that particular style of beer before, and I looked it up on YouTube. The only thing I could really find about it was a guy who was brewing it, a home brewer, and he was using both apple cider and apple juice to make it. So in terms of this particular one, definite cider taste to it. It was pretty crisp and clean. It was very refreshing. And if anybody's out there has drunk or had a shandy before, it was kind of like a shandy. It was kind of a mix between beer and something else added to it in terms of the bubbliness. Is that a word, bubbliness? I'm not sure. Strawberry Cream Ale. Again, a spate of flavored beers in this second 8 offerings, basically. So that seems to be the theme for this particular pack, is throw some stuff into the batch and see what comes out, basically. This one contained lactose and strawberries. It certainly had a creamy feel to it, probably because of that lactose, and a hint of strawberry flavor. Really not a heck of a lot of carbonation and not a lot of body with it as well. This was probably, as far as the first 16, the only session type of ale at 4.5%. Bosa, Dark and Stormy Ale, and kind of coincidentally I was drinking that or sampling that one on a kind of dark and stormy night, so it was appropriate. This was a perfect match. It was smooth, lots of body, a dark amber color. Now this one was brewed with rum and ginger. Now neither of which was really kind of overpowering, but they were certainly there. You could taste them in the background. But it added a lot of interesting notes to the beer itself, so a keeper for that one as well. Basil Ale. My only comment on that is, why? I mean, basil in a beer? Who needs it? Just didn't do anything for me. It really wasn't that great, and again, what's the point? The Dunkel, it poured very dark brown with a frothy tan head, but it wasn't solid color. You could see through it, so it was a dark brown, but it was kind of opaque, I guess. No, transparent. Very effervescent with lots of bubbles. A slight malty taste, crisp and tangy on the tongue. So it was pretty good. And lastly, the stout. Oh man, a Mexican hot chocolate stout. They nailed this one for sure. And in the past Advent calendars, there's been a couple of beers that kind of are standouts, and certainly in the first 16, this was a standout. It has cocoa, vanilla, cinnamon, and again, with a nod to the Mexican style or Mexican notes, it had chili peppers. So you definitely taste them all. In the front, there was the sweetness of the cocoa and the vanilla and the cinnamon. And then as you swallowed it, you got some of the burn from the chili peppers. Not terrifically, overpowering, but certainly you could tell that you were drinking something that had some chilies in it. Lots of body, clean taste, and enough effervescence to be refreshing as well. Even though it was a stout and pretty heavy, it was still, because if you drink it cold, it was certainly refreshing. So, for sure, that was a keeper Mexican hot chocolate stout. That was definitely one that I would recommend, and certainly if they brew it again, I would buy it. What did I learn from this particular group of beers? Well, one thing is, and even this is a sort of a back to the basil ale. If you drink these flavored beers cold, you miss out on the flavors, basically. Now, do I care if I taste basil in my beer? Probably not. But if you want to taste even the strawberry cream one, let them warm up a little bit so that you can actually taste the flavors in the beer. Now, that makes sense. It's just sometimes you pull the bottle or the can out of the fridge and you want to taste it right away. But certainly, if there's a flavored beer, I think what I'm going to do is maybe just drink them a little warmer. So just a heads up on that one. I know what a Griff is now, which I never heard of that style before, so that's new to me. And if anybody else out there wants to know, just check it out on YouTube. There were two very good beers, and those were the Torpor barrel-aged Imperial Porter, and that one, it didn't actually have anything on here in terms of the flavors, but it must be that all those flavors came from the barrel aging. The Bosa Dark and Stormy Ale, which was this one, water, barley, rum, yeast, hops, and ginger. And like I say, those flavors came out. Not overpowering, but certainly as it warmed up, because drinking these things, you have to, at 500 milliliters, you have to sort of take it easy and take some time. So by the time it warms up, that's when you get the flavors. And one that I thought was terrific, and that of course was this Snow Tracks Mexican Hot Chocolate Stout. So that's it for now. Those are beers 9 through 16 of the Great Outdoor Adventure Pack. It'll be after Christmas when I do the last 8, 17 to 24, and stay tuned for that. It's been fun so far, but like I say, there's only a few that kind of stand out, but hey, it's always an adventure sticking your hand into the pack and finding out what you're going to pull out. So, since it is the 22nd and I won't be talking to you before, have a very Merry Christmas, and hopefully Santa is good to you. Okay? Talk to you later. Bye now.